This is ecoTEC's ecoTEC Roundup show from Aotearoa's first and only climate-positive certified renewable electricity provider. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to EVs in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotecity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup of news from the world of clean cars and green energy, the last one of the year. Thanks for joining me. We start today's show with some great news for those who are fans of the transition to NACS, Tesla's charging connector, namely that it's now an official SAE standard J3400 in the US. And while this isn't going to impact Kiwi customers directly, I do think the impacts of this will be felt all around the world. As promised, the Society of Automotive Engineers has managed to certify NACS as an official standard in record time, with the organisation confirming on Tuesday that it has completed the process. While it's likely that most people will continue to use NACS, or Tesla Supercharger, as the name for the standard, the actual J3400 document is a lengthy one and includes support for 277 volts as per Tesla's original design, meaning it will be possible for charging providers to take a three-phase 480-volt industrial supply and split it into 3 destination chargers without extra electrical work. Kate and I got our hands on the J3400 standard this week, and yes, there will be a video coming next year. With the first Chevrolet Blazer EVs now on the road, we're starting to see reviews for the same trickle in. And while we've not been able to get our hands on one, others have. This week, 2 reviews went live and neither were good. The first came from InsideEvs, which detailed how their press loaner Blazer EV suffered a plethora of problems with its Android-based infotainment system, a system that seemed far less reliable than the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay system it replaces, not to mention DC quick charging faults. Meanwhile, Edmunds, which purchased one of the first Blazer EVs off the lot earlier this year, detailed in a post this week that in just 2 months, the car has suffered 23 different problems that have required dealer attention. You might want to hold off buying one. With just over a week left before the end of the year, Mercedes-Benz has officially updated the EPA range of its 2024 model year EQ family of EVs. Like Tesla, Mercedes-Benz has been making consistent revisions to its vehicles, and for the 2024 model year, pretty much every EQ-branded car gets some form of range boost. While some models, like the entry-level EQS 450 Plus, get a meager 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers of range increase, some, like the entry-level rear-wheel drive EQ even, get a slight drop in range. Most other models in the family are getting somewhere between 2 and 10% increase. It's curious that Mercedes-Benz is choosing to change the range ratings by just a few miles in some cases, but when we know what caused it, we'll of course share. Trevor Milton, the founder and former CEO of Nikola Motors, has been sentenced to 4 years in jail and 3 years of supervised release for 3 counts of fraud relating to the company. Milton was found guilty last year on 1 count of securities fraud and 2 counts of wire fraud after federal investigators found that he made false statements to investors about the company. Prosecutors had called for his sentence to be 11 years, identical to that handed out recently to Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes for similar crimes, but his sentence, which included $1 million fines and forfeiture of his Utah ranch, was much smaller. Prior to his sentencing, Milton, a member of the Mormon Church, spent some time quoting Bible verses to the court and still maintains that he's innocent of all crimes. This year has been marked by some pretty consistent news stories about how autonomous vehicles aren't as capable as we were once told they'd be, with everyone from Tesla to Cruise re-evaluating their autonomous vehicle targets and development. This week, however, Waymo bucked the trend, confidently stating that its self-driving vehicles are up to 10 times safer than human drivers. Using data it's collected from its own fleet of self-driving cars, Waymo says that it has reduced the number of accidents reported to the police by 57% and has reduced crashes that caused any bodily injury by 85% when compared to its previous performances. Since the start of August, it's reported 3 separate accidents that involved bodily injury to the US National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 1 each in August, September and November. Let us know, though, if you'd like us to dig deeper into this sizable report, because we'd like to. Earlier this month, General Motors stated that stability issues in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto led to increased driver distraction and, as such, had decided to go with its own in-car infotainment system. And while that decision doesn't look very good, given how poorly the infotainment system has been performing in the Chevy Blazer EV, Ford took the opportunity this week to cash in on GM's bad luck by stating it's all in on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Talking to reporters this week, Ford CEO Jim Farley reiterated that Ford is committed to offering the smartphone connectivity features in its future models. Given that Apple is readying a new CarPlay system that will allow it to take over dashboards to offer customers fully customizable setups in their vehicles, we're really eager to see what's coming down the pipe for Ford. Kia has enjoyed quite the year when it comes to global EV sales, with some really great growth. But one story from Canada suggests that Kia is artificially slowing down deliveries. Enter Canadian news network CBC, which published video footage this week that shows Kia regional sales manager Vince Capicotto telling 100 or so Kia dealership representatives that Kia Canada has already hit its sales targets for the year and thus isn't rushing to deliver many more cars before the end of it. Doing so, he suggests, could jeopardize Kia Canada's marketing budget for next year. Instead, CBC alleges that Kia Canada has a sizable stock of new cars, including Kia EVs, sitting in storage lots in Ontario, vehicles it alleges it won't be delivering to customers until the start of next year. If you are in Canada and you're waiting for a new Kia EV, we'd love to hear from you in order for us to dig a little deeper. Sticking with Canada, that kind of game won't last for long though, because the Canadian government has just announced it's shifting all new vehicles to zero emissions by 2035, and it's published a roadmap for the same. Published this week, the new electric vehicle availability standard states that all automakers should have 20% of their vehicles be zero emission by 2026, rising to 60% by 2030 and 100% by 2035. It also includes a new credit system similar to the ZEV credit systems in some US states, something that automakers could potentially game. But as you might expect, the Canadian automobile industry is furious about the rules and argues that the goals are, quote, too ambitious, end quote, given Canada's massive size and relatively low population density. We expect this one to go to court. We're sticking with vehicle mandates and emissions a little longer with this next story, namely that, according to the US EPA, automakers are improving emissions and fuel economy. Publishing its annual Automotive Trends report this week, the government agency states that new vehicles today emit 10 grams of CO2 less per mile than they did in 2021, and that overall corporate average fuel economy rose by 0.6 of a mile per US gallon. But the reality here is that this change isn't anywhere near quick enough to make a meaningful impact, and to be clear, it is caused mostly by an increase in EV sales, which raise average fuel economy and emissions far more than anything else automakers could do. Based on our own research, most internal combustion engine vehicles today are barely better than they have been in previous years when it comes to emissions and fuel economy, and SUV sales are rising, but EV sales are, thankfully, tipping the scales. While more and more cars coming to market now offer some kind of semi-autonomous driver assistance system, Mercedes-Benz became the first automaker this year to offer true Level 3 hands-off functionality. But there's been a question nagging us and others in the industry for some time. How can you tell when a human is driving versus when the computer is driving? Now we have an answer thanks to Mercedes-Benz. It's just received permission to activate special blue marker lights on its vehicles in the state of California and Nevada. I think it's a great idea because it shows other road users who is responsible for the vehicle at all times. But it only works if other drivers know what it means and, of course, if other people don't abuse it with aftermarket lighting kits, which they will. Before we get to the last two stories, I have a quick question. Are you in the market for a new EV? If you are, and you are in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own buyer's guide at ecoTEC.co.nz. It is packed with all the information you need to pick a car that's right for you, and includes plenty of details about incentives you can get, charging providers you can use, and of course, how to get charging at home. So follow the link below and start your journey today. As this is our final live show of the year, and let's be honest, this year has been one with plenty of ups and downs, I wanted to finish on two particularly epic stories of EV adventure to warm the soul. The first one comes from a Swiss team called Peak Evolution, which has just celebrated setting a new altitude record for EVs, climbing to the western edge of Ojos de Saldo, the world's highest volcano at 6,500 metres or 21,325 feet above sea level in Chile, in an all-electric AB VT450 transporter, charged exclusively by 7.4 kilowatts of peak solar panels that they carried with them. The climb wasn't exactly quick, with the team stopping every 93 miles or 150 kilometres to charge, but they made it, and congratulations to everyone involved. And finally, finishing off our adventures for the year, we bring you great news from our friends Julie and Chris Ramsey, who set off on an epic adventure back in the spring to travel from the magnetic North Pole to the South Pole in an EV. We caught up with the pair when they were driving their lightly modified Nissan Ariya through Oregon, and I've been keeping track of their progress where possible via text message. But on December 15th, they officially made the final push to the South Pole, becoming the first people to drive from pole to pole in any vehicle, electric or otherwise. While the team did have support at times during the polar parts of their travel, the rest of their trip was largely on their own, and honestly, I am so happy that they made it safe and well. Congratulations, guys! Well done on being the first people to drive pole to pole, and here's to a lovely Christmas for you both. And the same to all of you, because as it happens, we're done. Before I go, though, do make sure you've hit the lovely notification bell so you don't miss out in the latest in EV news from this channel. And of course, if you haven't switched yet, it is time to switch to Aotearoa's first and only climate positive certified renewable electricity provider. It is super easy to make the switch, and in doing so, you'll help the nation wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. Go on, make it a New Year's resolution. I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off from this show, so the next roundup show you're going to see from me will be on January 14th. So I hope you have a very wonderful Christmas break, an energising new year, and I'll see you in 2024. On behalf of myself and the rest of the team here, thanks for watching, engaging and being amazing this year, and here's hoping to a cleaner, greener 2024. I'm Nikki Gordon Bloomfield. Ka kite! See you next time.